Hey, what's up, everyone? Dragon back again, here to tell you that you should be watching Pumpkinhead. So, Pumpkinhead is a 1988 horror film directed and written also by the late, great Stan Winston. Now, if that name sounds familiar to you, this is the guy who created the Terminators for The Terminator, the Aliens and James Cameron's Aliens, and probably most famously, the dinosaurs for Steven Spielberg's Jurassic Park. He ran Stan Winston Studios and basically was a creature shop effects guy. However, he always wanted to try directing, kind of writing, directing his own film with his own kind of creature. And in 1988, he did that with Pumpkinhead. And unfortunately, because of the nature of his busy work schedule, he never was able to go back and do more movies. But he kind of created a film that kind of while it didn't do great in theaters, has over the years developed a very big cult following. Now, when you hear the name Pumpkinhead, if you're imagining basically a guy with a pumpkin head, don't feel too bad because when he brought this project to his crew, that was kind of their first thought too. So, are we designing just a guy with like a jack-o'-lantern for a head? But no, Pumpkinhead is actually a nickname for a demon. Now, basically, as the story goes, for all of man's evils, a special demon exists, including vengeance, which is really the technical name for this creature. And essentially, if you've been wronged, you can conjure Pumpkinhead to exact vengeance in your name. However, the price you pay will be that your soul will be damned for all eternity. So, essentially, it follows the story of a man, Ed Harley, played by Lance Henriksen. Again, if you guys know that name, he's the guy who basically was Bishop in in Aliens. Played one of the detectives in The Terminator. You've kind of is kind of a well-known character actor, so more than likely, if you Google him, you'll see his face and have probably recognize him from something along the way. But it's a starring role for him, and essentially, his child, his son, is run over by a bunch of teenagers accidentally with their dirt bikes. And he's so overtaken by grief and anger that he goes to this witch, this sorceress, and basically, everyone in the area knows, her powers, and everyone's heard the stories of Pumpkinhead. They all grew up hearing this legend, and basically, ask for Pumpkinhead to be conjured up in his name to exact revenge. And, long story short, that's what happens, and Pumpkinhead starts in classic creature feature fashion slash slasher movie fashion. He goes off, starts picking off these kids one by one, torturing and killing them. But every time Pumpkinhead kills one of these kids, Ed, he feels their pain. He feels what it feels like for them to be dying, because him and Pumpkinhead are linked in that sense. So also when Pumpkinhead gets hurt, he feels it too. And that's when he realizes the mistake he's made. That's when he goes back to the witch tribe to undo what he's done, and you basically tell him, "Hey, this is a one-way ticket. Basically, you just sold your soul to the devil, and you're going to hell, and now you have to see this through." So that and that's basically kind of the plot in a nutshell. But what the story really kind of focuses on, the crux of it, what I always like to get to, is it's about basically showing that some of our worst natures are the real monster. Like there's basically a monster in all of us. Pumpkinhead himself, which by the way does not look like a guy with a pumpkin at his head, as you'll see in the video clips I show here. In case you're worried, is basically kind of a manifestation of who we are. We become monsters. It's when we give in to our basal natures, when we give in to our hate, it turns us into a monster. And as Pumpkinhead goes along doing what he does, Ed Hart basically starts becoming a monster. He starts taking on the kind of the mental attributes of Pumpkinhead, and slowly is becoming a monster himself. And that's really what Pumpkinhead represented. It's kind of the ugliness inside of us, the monster inside of us. Pumpkinhead, as a plot device, is a metaphor for who we can be. And it basically, when we're confronted by a situation, when we're presented with something so horrible that's happened to us, in that moment, we have a decision to make, albeit not an easy decision, but do we rise above it and kind of give into our better angels, so to speak, or do we allow ourselves to be consumed by the hatred and become the monster? And that's why the price he pays. Yes, these kids will die. Yes, he'll get his revenge, but now he'll never see his son in the afterlife. Their souls will never be joined together, because he would rather have just inflict pain onto them, like pain was inflicted onto him, than ever be rejoined with the soul of his son. And it kind of shows you kind of the selfishness of vengeance. It's really not about vengeance for the person you lost. It's about inflicting pain on those who've inflicted to you. It's more of a tit for tat. Yes, he's angry, and yes, he has a right to be angry, albeit it was an accident in this story. But still, is it really about your son when you're basically doing the one thing that will deny you, your ability to ever see him again, essentially? His in the story too, his wife has passed away previously, so he'll never be reunited with his wife and his son, the two people that meant most to him. He would rather just hurt other people to feel good in the moment than to just live out a life, which granted is what might be sad and lonely, but knowing that when you die, as long as if you follow this kind of mythology and belief system, that as long as you're a good person, when you die, you'll go to heaven and be reunited with the people you love. He's saying, the hell with that. I want to hurt these people now, no matter the cost. And it's about basically showing what vengeance does to us. It turns us into a monster, and it almost turns us basically into something worse than the thing we are seeking vengeance from. So Pumpkinhead, again, represents one of man's greatest evils. He is vengeance. He is the ugliness within ourselves. He is the monster within ourselves. He is the low we are willing to stoop to in order to kind of get something that ultimately is very selfish. It's not about anybody else. It's about us. It's about immediate gratification. It's like, you hurt me, now I want to hurt you, and I want you to die, at any price. And he realizes this mistake after the fact, But again, it's after the fact. It's about showing that in a split decision, like one moment, if you make the wrong decision, it can have ramifications that will last the rest of your life, and in the nature of this story, your afterlife. And it's basically saying, as difficult as it is in that moment to not feel that way, that's why it is the most important time to think clearly, to really process. Yes, it sucks what happened to this kid. Yes, you have a right to be angry with the people who did it, but think about it. Would they want you to become this thing? Would they want you to stop being the person they loved in life for them? Is that the best way to honor their memory, is to become something so horrible and so ugly and so unforgivable that even they themselves probably would never be able to forgive you, especially if you did something like that in their name, because now you're putting that on their heads as well. So that's basically what this movie, this story is about. It's about realizing that, the monster that we all fear is not out there. It's really inside of us. Pumpkinhead represents us. It represents us at our absolute worst. And it's one of those things we realize that the price we pay to enact revenge, more often than not, is too high. But unfortunately, we don't really realize that till after the fact, till it's too late, till you've already paid it. And that is, the tragic story of this character. And it is very much a cautionary tale, is that, no matter how bad things get, never lose sight of your better judgment. Because ultimately, there will come a point in your life where you will be happier that you didn't give in to that. No matter how bad it feels in the moment, nothing is worth giving into that. Because the price you pay will always be too high. It will always be more than it will be to make it worth it. And, again, this character realized that, and he goes on the path to make things right, even though he knows it's too late for him, but maybe he can still save these kids, and that becomes kind of his cross to bear, so to speak. So, Pumpkinhead. Have you seen it? There's a few sequels to it. Pumpkinhead 2, while not nearly as good as it, I actually find it rather enjoyable because it's an interesting kind of reimagining of the mythology. And then 3 and 4 were kind of I think they aired on the Sci-Fi Channel, so you can watch the other 3 kind of if you want to, but the first film is really the kind of the masterpiece, if you will. And amongst creature feature fans, this is kind of a classic. I know there's talks of remaking it, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, have you seen it? If you have, let me know what you think. Do you like it? As a creature feature fan, I really, really like this movie. It's the suit work is amazing. Stan Winston at his best. The direction is very good. It makes him very sad that he never directed any more films because this movie is really well made. If you haven't seen it, I will leave some links in the description section below where you can pick it up. Check it out. Come back, give me some of your thoughts, because this is one of those movies that whenever I show people who've never seen it before, they always go, "Oh wow, that was really good. I can't believe I've never heard of that." And that's kind of the biggest tragedy of this film is that more people haven't heard of it because it's a really well made film. It's a well executed film. So for no other reason, if you don't, even if you're not into monster movies or things like that, watch this movie for the kind of the craftsmanship as a film, because it's a very, like I said, well made film. It's a good story. It's well acted. The special effects are good. The mood, the tension is palatable. So it's an enjoyable experience, just as a movie. So check it out. Give me some of your thoughts. Let me know, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.